Welcome to the Explainer. Today, we're going to talk about the Kirkpatrick Model. It's this four-level framework that, for over 70 years, has pretty much been the way we measure how well training actually works.
Okay, so let's jump right in with something you might not know. The name that comes to mind, right? Donald Kirkpatrick. Well, he might not be the whole story here. The real origin is, well, it's a little more complicated than you'd think.
So, check this out. Believe it or not, back in 1956, that's a full 3 years before his own famous articles came out, Donald Kirkpatrick himself published this very quote. And in it, he gives credit for this exact four-step idea to a psychologist named Raymond Catzell. But here's the kicker. After 1956, Catzell's name just vanishes from Kirkpatrick's writings.
So that brings us to the main event. Let's break down how Kirkpatrick took these ideas and really solidified them into his original 4 levels.
You can see the journey laid out here. It all started with his PhD research back in '54. Then, you've got that initial nod to Catzell in '56. And then, bam, 1959 hits. He publishes those legendary articles, and that's what really cements his framework, and his name, into the history books.
And what he came up with was this brilliantly simple hierarchical structure. Just 4 iconic levels: reaction, learning, behavior, and results. It's so clean, right? It gave everyone this super logical pathway to follow when trying to figure out if their training was actually making a difference.
All right, level 1. This is your immediate gut check. You know the drill. It's the classic happy sheet you fill out right after a course ends. Did you like it? Was the instructor any good? How was the free coffee? It's all about capturing how learners feel about the program, right in that moment.
Then we get to level 2, and this is where we go a bit deeper. We're moving past feelings and into facts. The big question here is, did people actually learn anything? Did they pick up the knowledge and skills they were supposed to? And yeah, you usually measure this with things like a test before and after, or maybe some kind of skills demo.
Now, this next part is really insightful. Kirkpatrick knew that just learning something in a classroom doesn't mean you'll actually do it. For real behavior change to happen back on the job, that's level 3, he said you need these 4 crucial conditions. Because, let's be honest, without a supportive manager or some real incentives, all those new skills are just going to stay stuck in a notebook somewhere. And that brings us to the top of the pyramid, level 4. Results. This is the big one, the holy grail of training evaluation, for sure. This is where you connect the dots directly to the business's bottom line. We're talking about things like higher sales, less turnover, better quality. This is how you prove the training really, truly paid off.
But the story doesn't end there. The model didn't just stay frozen in time. So next up, let's look at how it got a major upgrade. So fast forward a few decades, Donald's son, Jim, along with his wife, Wendy, they come along and introduce what they call the New World Kirkpatrick Model. And this wasn't just, a fresh coat of paint. No, this was a fundamental shift in the whole philosophy of how you should even approach evaluation. So what was the big change? Well, instead of starting at level 1, the happy sheets, and just kind of hoping for the best, they flipped the whole thing on its head. They called it backward design. The idea is you start with the end in mind. Figure out the business results you need at level 4 first, and then work your way backward to design a training program that can actually get you there. It's genius, really. And you can see here they upgraded every single level to be more strategic. Level 2, for instance, wasn't just about knowledge anymore. It was about measuring the learner's confidence and commitment to apply it. And level 3 got way more focused. It wasn't about any old behavior change. It was about identifying the specific, critical behaviors that are going to drive those results you want. But even with this awesome New World model, there was still one big question hanging in the air. What about the money? So around the 2000s, another expert in this space, a guy named Jack Phillips, he stepped up and said, hey, this model is missing a final, absolutely crucial level: return on investment. And that's what level 5 is all about. It gives you a clear, no-nonsense, dollars and cents formula. It's designed to isolate the financial impact of the training itself, so you can calculate a specific ROI. It finally gives you the answer to that question every CFO loves to ask. Yeah, but was it worth the money? Okay, but let's be real. No model is perfect, right? And this one is no exception. So now it's time to take a look at some of the cracks in the foundation. Probably the biggest knock against it is what people call the linear assumption fallacy.
It's this idea that level 1 automatically leads to level 2, which leads to level 3, and so on. But we all know that's not always true, right? Just because you like the pizza at lunch doesn't mean you learned the new software. On top of that, critics point out that doing a full-blown evaluation is super expensive and time-consuming, and maybe it just doesn't mesh well with how we learn today. All digital, informal, and on the go.
And the expert critiques, like this one from Halton, really get to the core of the issue. The argument is that the model isn't really a scientific theory that's been proven, it's more like a taxonomy, a really useful way to categorize different outcomes, sure, but it doesn't have that hard evidence showing that A always causes B.
And all this criticism, naturally, has led to other models popping up. You've got things like the LTM model, which makes a big distinction between did they remember it and can they actually use it. And then there's this CRO model, which is all about doing a ton of analysis on the company's needs before you even think about building a training program.
Okay, so after all that, the critiques, the new models, you have to ask, why on earth are we still talking about a 70-year-old model? Why does it still matter?
Well, the answer is pretty simple. It's just so darn useful. It's practical, it's easy to understand, and its conceptual simplicity is honestly beautiful. It gives everyone a shared language and a straightforward framework that just works. And that's especially true in really high-stakes fields like medicine, where you absolutely have to know if your training is effective. And this isn't just theoretical. In the real world, recent research shows just how relevant it still is. It's being used right now to evaluate really complex medical training. We're talking everything from a surgeon's hands-on skills to the impact of brand new programs for doctors. So what's the big takeaway here for anyone in the learning field today? It's this. The Kirkpatrick model isn't some magic silver bullet that solves every problem. Think of it more like a foundational tool. It's a cornerstone, and it's still incredibly valuable, especially when you use it as one piece of a bigger, more modern evaluation toolkit. And that really leaves us with one final big question to chew on. In this age of AI, constant upskilling, and super personalized digital learning, can a 70-year-old model still show us the way? Or is the world of learning changing so fast, so fundamentally, that it's finally time for a completely new blueprint?